Hi there. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Follow Your Passion podcast. I'm your host, Erwin Wils. I'm a mindset and business strategist and founder of Millionaire Life Strategy. In this podcast, I'm interviewing my clients and other entrepreneurs that are following their passion and make a good living out of it. When you want to know more about me or what I can do for you, check out my website, millionaireLifestrategy.com. But first, check out this episode of Follow Your Passion. Hello, everybody, and welcome by another episode of Follow Your Passion. Let me introduce my guest of today. It's Ruth King. Ruth is well known as the Profitability Master. She's passionate about helping small business owners get profitable and stay profitable. She's a serial entrepreneur, a speaker, a trainer, a best-selling and award-winning author. Ruth holds a master in business administration and finance and a bachelor's and master's degree in chemical engineering, and she loves running marathons. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you in the show, Ruth. So, how come chemical engineering?
Well,
it's something totally different than what you're doing right now, I guess.
Actually, it's not, believe it or not. But when I was a kid, my parents had brainwashed me into wanting to become a doctor. And when I realized I didn't want to do that, I was a math chem major, and the logical thing was chemical engineering because I wanted to have a job when I got out of college, assuming, whatever happened. And that's where the chemical engineering came in. And I had 2 summer jobs in it and absolutely loved them. And everybody in those summer jobs said, go get your master's because you're really going to need it to be out in the real world. So I did, got out in the real world and absolutely hated it. So while I was working, I went back to school, got my MBA in finance, and realized that financials are something that I could really explain well. The chemical engineering background teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to solve problems. It teaches you how to attack things and, make things that make sense. And numbers are the same thing. And I found that when I was in MBA school that, oh my gosh, this is fun. Now, I know so many people go fun in numbers, they don't get it. But, once you understand them and understand what they're really telling you, it becomes fun. It's like a puzzle. It's like a chemical engineering puzzle. So am I using my chemical engineering distillation column stuff? No. Am I using my learn how to solve problems, look at the trends, look at, where things are going? Yes. So,
right.
If I'm looking at the textbook chemistry stuff, no, but if I'm looking at what they actually taught us how to do, yes.
Yeah. And I can totally understand where you're coming from. I'm a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering myself. And sometimes I get a question from people, isn't it a shame that you didn't do anything with your electrical engineering, right? And I said, well, I didn't work at one of the electronic companies, right? So in that sense, I didn't do anything with the content, but you learn how to solve complex problems, right? To downsize them, to have this helicopter view. It's a way of thinking that you're actually training where you're at university, and I still use it every day. So I can totally associate with what you're sharing, Ruth.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I do a lot of work in construction and heating and air and plumbing and electrical, and I'm going through ES2, which is your basic electrical engineering class, going, I'm never ever going to use this. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So you're not, I know you love numbers, right? But you're not an accountant, you're not a bookkeeper. You're actually more like a consultant that helps small business owners to become profitable and stay profitable, right? So how did you come to that expertise?
Well, I took in MBA school, I took my basic accounting classes and things like that. And I took the finance classes and loved the finance side of it. The accounting is boring. It's debits and credits. There's nothing creative about debits and credits. Now, I'm talking about people who are moral, ethical, and legal, okay? I'm not talking about people who do crazy crap, excuse me for saying it that way. But the financial side is where you really and truly look at the trends of the numbers. You look at what the accountants have produced, so to speak, and you figure out where it's going, what's going wrong, are we headed in the right direction? Are there tweaks and things along those ways? So it's more the financial side of things. Yes. Do I know bookkeeping backwards and forwards and inside out and upside down? Yes, I do. It is not something I enjoy on a long-term basis. If you give me a small business owner's financial statements that are totally screwed up, I can fix them from an accounting standpoint. Do I enjoy doing that every day? No. I enjoy more of, okay, this is what the accountants have produced and the bookkeeper has produced. Let's figure out where it is with respect to budget. Let's figure out where it is based on what we said we wanted to do. Are we being productive from an employee standpoint, from a revenue producing standpoint? I mean, there's so many things on the financial side that actually help once you've got a P&L, a balance sheet, a cash flow statement, those types of things. So that's the basis for what everybody does and making sure that that's accurate, because we can't make good financial decisions on inaccurate data.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not only making sure that the data is accurate, but it's also that you have to truly understand how to interpret those figures, right?
Exactly.
Because I used to be a process chain manager, and I had to look at the incident processes. And they were looking at the number of incidents, but it doesn't say that much. It just say how many incidents you have on an application, right? But it doesn't say anything about the root cause. That's and right. If you want to downsize the number of incidents, you want to attack the root causes, not the number of incidents itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess it's more or less the same with accounting and figures as well. You can have very accurate figures, but if you don't know how to interpret those figures and how to read them properly, you're not going anywhere.
Right. I can give you a really easy example if you'd like.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. There is one ratio that I use that's called the productivity ratio, which answers the question, for every dollar that comes in the door revenue-wise, how much is spent on payroll and payroll taxes? And, everybody different countries have different payroll taxes and stuff like that. And that tells you, whether your team members are productive or not. And, if your productivity ratio is like 80%, that means like 80 cents of every dollar from my perspective, or pounds or euros or whatever, is being spent for payroll and payroll taxes, which is way too high. And so that's one ratio that we look at to make sure that companies they're as productive as they possibly can. And most people don't think about looking at that ratio simply because it's not a quote unquote banker ratio, but it's one for critical handling's not the right word, management of employee base. It's really important to make sure that everybody is as productive as they possibly can be.
And is that a ratio that you use per employee, or is it also incorporating the overhead costs and stuff like that?
No, there's no overhead costs in that ratio with the exception of payroll taxes. It's simply payroll plus payroll taxes divided by sales. And, I've started working with companies where that ratio is 101%. I mean, whoa, time out here. For every dollar that's coming in the door, you're spending $1 on payroll and payroll taxes. What about your rent, your light bill, the actual cost of materials and things along those lines? It's like, okay, I hate to say it, but that's really easy to fix. It really and truly is, it because it's so blatant that, you can't miss that if you look for it. As you said,
that's exactly, I think that's the key. If you look for it, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't truly understand where everything is going. They're spending, for instance, money on social media for Facebook ads. I don't know, whatever they spend, right? Or they have outsourced it to a company, and the company is saying they're doing a great job, but they don't have a dashboard that they can actually control it, can see it, can manage it.
Yeah. So here's the ratio that I use for that. All right. So let's assume that your social media or your Facebook ads or whatever else that are costing you $100,000 a year. And your gross margin of your company is 40%. You divide the two numbers. That means 100,000 divided by 40%. I know I'm doing it in dollars. So, I know this is international, but, dollars is what I know really well. And that's $250,000. So if your social media is not bringing you in $250,000 a year, you're losing money. I don't care if they say they're making a good, doing really well. An impression does not translate into buying. I want to know from my social media, not how many impressions I had, how many sales I had.
Yep.
And that's the only number that we look at. So, if it's $100,000, your gross margin's 40%, then $250,000 is the number that you have to generate every year for it to break even. And you were doing it or not. It's black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. At least as you know how to interpret the numbers, you can actually manage your company based on those numbers.
Exactly.
I heard a story also from another entrepreneur that there was this company that had like 5 products they were selling, and they were actually losing a small amount of money. They're not making a profit. So they decided to promote their best-selling product, not realizing that they sold the best-selling product below market costs. So they were actually, by promoting the best-selling product, they were the loss got bigger because they didn't know what it costs, right? So those kind of mistakes, I can imagine that is like common for some entrepreneurs.
It's very common because they don't understand what discounting actually does. And in this particular case, what you described is they didn't even know what their cost was to know that their best-selling product was not even making them a profit.
Yeah.
What would have happened if they, I don't know whether it was, $10, $100 or whatever it is, but what would it take to break even on that product? And if it was their best-selling product, my guess, again, this is a guess, is that people would probably be willing to pay more for it because the value was there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I met 2 accountants, and they were looking at the business model, and they decided to change the name from accountants to treasure hunters because they would go into the company, do an audit, and see where all the hidden treasures were located, right? And make it visible for them. Would you consider yourself to be a treasure hunter yourself as well?
In a lot of respects, yes. Most of the time, I get a phone call when people are in trouble or they're not making money or they're not profitable. So my treasure is finding out how to make them profitable or how to make them more profitable. I mean, I don't know, in Europe, we have McDonald's, and I think there's McDonald's in Europe and all across the world. And my thing is, if you're not at least making as much as you could make in McDonald's, don't have a business. If you're making $5 an hour and you could be making $15 an hour at McDonald's, why are you in business? Go work for McDonald's. There's a whole lot of less stress.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a nice thought, that sometimes people following the passion, it will give them the freedom, but they realize they're actually below minimum wages, right? It's they're hardly paying the bills. They're actually surviving, but they're thinking they're living a great way of living, actually, while they're actually only surviving. And it's what you said, if you're making like $5 an hour and you can make 15 at McDonald's, why not go to McDonald's?
Yeah. And the thing is, I have nothing against following your passion. Nothing. I think it's phenomenal. It helps you realize why you're doing what you're doing when the days get really tough. It's what gets you through those days. And believe me, I've had plenty of them over the past, 45 plus years. But the reality is that at some point that passion has to be profitable or you're going to be miserable. Why are you, working yourself into the ground, so to speak, or, doing something, I understand the passion piece of it. Do it as a hobby and go get a job.
Yeah. I actually had a funny story I wanted to share with you that there was this lady who was painting, right? And she had her own website. And when she got a new painting, she put it up there and people could buy for $150. She wasn't selling that much, right? But it was a hobby for her, right? It was just a side hustle. And at a certain moment, she made a new painting, put it on the website again, according what she does normally. But she made a mistake.
Okay.
Because instead of putting it on the website for $150, she put it up for $1,500. You should just make a typo when putting it on the website.
What's a zero?
It was sold within a week. Just to test it, she put every painting on the website for $1,500, and suddenly they were selling like cupcakes, right?
Yeah. Well, we call them hot cakes in the United States.
But it's just she is now a very reasonable business doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I had those discussions with some fellow entrepreneurs as well. How do you set a price for yourself? You're charging by the hour or per session or whatever you're doing. And they put themselves very low because in their mind, they're thinking, why should anybody pay that much money for me? Right.
Yeah.
But it's not about you. It's about the impact you make. It's the added value you deliver for the client. They're not paying for you. They're paying for the results they want.
That's right.
So what's it worth to the client? And I think that's a mindset that still a lot of fellow entrepreneurs are struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I find pricing that is wrong, I take pricing totally away from the entrepreneur or the business owners, and I give it to a clerk or I give it to somebody who's in the office. And I say, okay, here's the methodology we're going to do to price this, whether it's labor, materials, time, whatever it is. Here is the overhead cost per hour we're going to use, and here's the net profit that the owner wants, for every billable or revenue producing hours. And they have a formula and they price according to the formula, and the owner never sees it. And all of a sudden he's starting to make money. And it's like, I didn't know I could charge that. It's really funny to have that happen and have that come to pass, simply because they have in their head, as you said, that they can't charge that much. It's what value are they providing to the customer? So, for example, let's assume you want to earn $100 or, 100 euros or whatever it is, net profit for every revenue producing hour. Well, if there's 3 revenue producing hours in there, your net profit has to be 300, and then you add all the costs on top of it. And that's what you charge the customer. And if you are providing the value, and that is the key, is providing the value, they see that what you are providing, might cost them $500, but they can generate, $5,000 from it. Why wouldn't they? It's a bargain for them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also, I did a 2.5-year program of training, and our trainer actually did a very interesting exercise about that. It was hypnotherapy training, and he asked one of the students, if he did stop smoking sessions, right? And he did, and he charged $500 for that. And he said, I want you to go out and ask your friend and tell your friends and family that you got a new stop smoking program, and it's $10,000, right?
Uh-huh.
And don't defend it. Just put it out there and notice their reaction, right? Just observe. And he actually did. And one of the family members he told it was his sister. And his sister thought he became mad, right? He said, what? Could you repeat that? $10,000 for stop smoking sessions? Are you mad? Who's going to pay that, right? If you would have charged $2,000, $2,500, I could imagine that, but 10K, that's far too much. Nobody will pay that. And the interesting thing is that his very own sister told him that she would consider $2,000, $2,500 for a stop smoking program. And he was only charging $500. So from that moment on, he started charging $1,500.
Yeah, or $2,500 or whatever else.
He could have.
Yeah, and he started making money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, it's really funny. I don't know what the tax laws are where you are, but the first time that business owners finally really start making money and having to pay taxes on the money and everything else like that, they complain. And my answer to them always is, do you want it the way it was before? And they all go, no. Stop complaining and pay your taxes.
Yeah. You could just say that the moment you have to start paying taxes for your income, you're on the right track, because it means you're making money. You're making a profit.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Ruth, we already talked about it in pre-talk, but you have a very special client, that has become a huge success to you. Would you share that story with us?
I have actually several. Most of my client base gets really successful. But we had started working with one client they bought their business from their former boss, and it was about $750,000 in revenue. 16 years later, they walked out the door with $9 million in cash.
Wow.
And grew the business profitably, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't have gone, walked out the door with $9 million in cash, but they did it. I've had others who are very much like that. We started, $4 million, they sell it for, or not even the whole business, for north of 10 million. I mean, it's if you grow profitably and you put the things in place to do, then you can get a lot of money for your business if that's what you want. And we talk about the passion piece of this. You really and truly need to know, if you are really and truly passionate about your business, what are you going to do if you sell it? I mean, you've been so involved in your business, and I've seen some of my clients, sell their businesses for a lot of money, and they are miserable because they don't go to work every day. It's not like they have something to do every day. Passion in business is critical. If your passion is, I want to grow this and sell it, well, terrific. What are you going to be passionate about afterwards? What are you going to do when you don't go to the office every day? And, you have to have something, because the business can't totally define you if the passion is there, but the passion transcends the business, so to speak. I don't know if you look at it from a perspective. I know people. Give you one of my clients. He started his business because his daughter was nationally ranked in volleyball in the U.S. and he wanted to be able to go to all of her games wherever they were. And so he built a really incredible business that would run without him, when he could go to all of her volleyball games. Well, she's now out of college and she's doing other things. So he's selling the business and he's on to other things. The passion was there, don't get me wrong, but there was a reason for it. And he grew the business so it wasn't dependent on him, which made it incredibly sellable. And he's now on to his next passion, which I think is cool.
Oh, definitely. And it's also what I share with my clients as well, is that the moment you start a business and you want to truly grow it, you also have to have an exit strategy. Mm-hmm. Not meaning that you will sell the business, but you want the business to make money without you actively being in it, right? Yeah. Because the moment the company is making money without your presence, you can spend the time with your family whenever you want to. You can build long-lasting relationships with your key clients and partnerships. You can explore a new market that could be opened for your business. You can pick the cherries out of the your clients, right. You can choose the clients you want to work for. Yeah. And that's, if you truly want to grow your business to that level, that's perfect. And it's what you said. It's what he actually did. He built his company, so that he could visit all these games of his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, she did really, really well. And, it was a very bonding relationship between the two of them, too, simply because he had the time to invest with her in her games and everything along those lines, which I guess is two passions at once.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess when you start working with a client and they start seeing the results of your added value, that they're probably not one-off clients, right? I guess you're building a long-lasting relationship with your clients. Is that true?
I have either very long or very short relationships with my clients. All right. My oldest client I started working with in 1987, and he sold his business last year.
Oh, wow.
So from 87 to 2021, December of 2020. And it was time for him to go. We talked about it and we valued it and did all the stuff that, his wife was not in good shape health-wise, and they wanted to be able to travel and things along those lines. So It was time. I have a lot of clients who I've started working with in the 90s, and I have a couple of them that I quit because they don't want to do it. This is not something that is easy. If you're passionate about it, you'll slog through it. If you don't want to do it, I'm not here to help.
Perfect. And that's also about the mindset of the entrepreneur. They have to truly want it themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's the same what I have with hypnotherapy as well. Everybody wants to change, but not to be changed. Yeah. So if the client doesn't want to change themselves, there's no need for me to put any effort in it, because they have to want it themselves. I can't force them, right? Neither can you force your clients to do the things they actually need to do themselves.
Yeah. I quit on a lot of them. I have no contracts with my clients. They have a 30-day out. I have a 30-day out. And if they're not doing what they need to be doing, I will have a conversation with them by saying, I don't think I can help you. And we part company as friends. I've had others who sold, and we part company that way. But that's a very different parting company because they're off doing something else. But again, I have a lot of clients that I started with in the 80s, started with the 90s. I'm working with their kids now, which is really fun.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Do you also notice that when you start working with their children, that took over the company, that the parents still have a hard time letting go of the company?
It depends upon what their passions are. All right. So if the parents don't have anything to do outside the business, it's really tough for the kids. Yeah. There's one situation where the parents, they come in now every once in a while just to kind of check and make sure everything's going well. But they're off. They're in Italy. They're in Australia. They're literally going around the world doing the things that they want to do from a travel perspective. And the kids are running the business. Yes. Yeah. And it's fine. And they kind of, they don't have day-to-day operational things. They just kind of look at it every once in a while and go, everything's going fine. Bye. And nice. See ya.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I just realized as well that, you love numbers, but you also have to be a people's person, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you couldn't be successful in this business, right? Because you're building long-lasting relationships with your clients. So you have to be a people's person as well.
That's true. If I were a numbers person and only a numbers person, I would be an accountant in a little cubicle, running numbers. But I am very much of a people person. I care when the light bulb goes on and they get it, and I get them to do the things that, they're passionate about and stuff like that. And it's really fun for me. It is a blast for me. And you're right. I have long-standing relationships with my clients, the ones who really care and will do what I tell them to do. My sixth book is at the editors right now, and one of my clients wrote the forward to the book and talked about the fact that he was a what do you call it? In his room, in his man cave, as he said it. And then we're in a situation where he's now, a multi-million-dollar business. And he remembers the first argument that we had that allows him, to spend $500 on rent. And so it's like, it's really gone a very long way, and they're doing really, really, really well.
Nice. So talking about books, you just mentioned that your sixth book is coming out.
Yeah.
But you already got some award-winning books and best-selling books from the first five, right?
Correct. Yeah. The Courage to Be Profitable and Profit or Wealth hit #1 on Amazon, both of them. Courage to Be Profitable is written in English. It's P&Ls and balance sheets in English rather than accounting babble. It's the way I describe it. And then Profit or Wealth are just the rules for profit and the rules for wealth, so that you've got both.
Nice. And what decided you to write those books?
Well, I am one person and I can just help so many people one-on-one. A lot of people can get help through my writing if they will implement what I write in the books.
Nice. And did you get some feedback from readers as well from your books?
Oh yeah, a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Most of it is like, all right, I looked at this book and went, should I really be reading this? Then I found out how easy it was to read and found out it really did help me with my business. It's a lot of testimonials like that.
Nice. Yeah. And I guess it makes it all worth it, right? The time and effort you put in it, and get those testimonials from people that actually do something with your material, with your legacy, actually.
Yep,
I think that's the biggest thing that you can wish for, right?
Absolutely. It is phenomenal when the light bulb goes on and people get it. That's really what it's all about. It's not about me being the taskmaster sometimes and the implementation master. It's also people reading something and totally getting it and being in a situation that something that I've written, something that I've said, an interview like this can actually help them be better in business, build more profit, build more wealth, and hopefully give back, which is my thing. Yeah.
Nice. So if you would look at your own business, like you're advising a lot of other small business owners, how to build a company, do you apply everything you tell them to your own business as well?
Oh, yeah. My very first business was called The Ugly Truth About Small Business. And it's the story of 50 entrepreneurs and stuff that happened that, could put people out of business. I learned so much writing that book that I implemented in my own business. It wasn't, a lot of what I learned there. But I do budgets, I do financials. I look at everything on a month-by-month basis. I look, checkbooks every day to make sure, or bank accounts every day to make sure there's nothing stupid or something along those lines going through. A lot of what I tell everybody to do, I don't ask them to do things that I will not do myself. All right. So if I'm saying to you that, please check your bank accounts every single day because stuff happens, we do the same thing. I mean, it's not something I'm asking you to do that we don't do.
Perfect. So are you walking the walk?
Yeah, I'm walking the walk and talking the talk.
Nice. Did you find out everything by yourself, or did you get some mentors or coaches or whatever to help you build your own business?
I have a coach. I've had coaches in the past. I'm part of a worldwide networking group right now called Abundance 360, which is a phenomenal coaching group. And with that, so when I say people use me as their coach, I also have one. So I'm not asking you to have me as a coach without me also going through the coaching process. So yeah, I mean, again, it's talking the talk and walking the walk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also what I say myself as well, that you don't see your own blind spots, right?
Exactly.
So it's what one of my coaches also said. You need somebody outside of the box to look on the label what's inside of it.
Yeah,
and
I agree. Yeah.
If there's any coach out there that doesn't have their own coach, I don't know if I can take them seriously, because
I would have a tendency to agree with you there.
Yeah, it's they're promoting like being Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all, right? I don't need a coach because I've done everything. Well, you haven't done everything. Otherwise, you already have achieved what you had in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. So, Ruth, with regards to your sixth book, what's that all about?
The sixth book is 101 financial mistakes small business owners make and how to avoid them. And that came out of the 40 years of watching companies do really dumb things. And it's all written in English. And, it's all easy to implement and everything along those lines so that we have accurate financial statements so that we can make good business decisions based on accurate financial statements and things like that.
Nice. And are there any universal laws that they're failing to follow, or?
Yeah, number one is watch your cash. If you don't log into your bank statements or your bank accounts every single day, you could end up like one of my clients did when his bookkeeper looked at him and saw those two little deposits that you generally get to prove that a bank account is real. And the next day, somebody had tried to withdraw $50,000 out of their account.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, that didn't go through. But, had they called the bank, the bookkeeper just basically said, the owner set up a new account and he just forgot to tell me, rather than going to him and saying, hey, this is what's going on. They could have precluded that from even happening.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So, I think we can talk for hours on this subject, and numbers and figures and doing business and make it profitable. If there's any tip or little piece of wisdom you would like to share with the audience, what would it be, Ruth?
It would be that your balance sheet is more important than your P&L. Your P&L just tells you your profit and loss statement, your income statement, only tells you whether you're profitable for a month or a year or whatever. Your balance sheet actually tells you about continuing profitability. So pay attention to your balance sheet. It's more important than paying attention to your P&L on a long-term basis.
Nice. And if people want to get in touch with you or want to know more about your Ruth, how can they do that?
The best thing to do is to go to my website, which is www.ruthking.info, and everything's there. The books are there. All the different things that I do are all there.
Perfect. That's not so hard to remember, being your name, Ruth King. So nice. I want to thank you for this very open conversation, Ruth. You shared a lot of information, a lot of knowledge as well. I love to feel how passionate you are about when you're talking about your clients and the successes they've made. So I know you're on the right track. I wish you all the best. Let's keep in touch and see you next time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And hopefully I have helped your audience become more profitable too.
I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to check out the other episodes because each one is filled with interesting and inspiring stories and energy. Are you following your passion as well and make a good living out of it? Contact me and you could be my next guest. Would you like to follow your passion but are not there yet? Check out my website millionaireLifeStrategy.com and book an appointment to discover what I could do for you. Don't forget to share the podcast with your friends so that they get inspired as well.